You ever had that feeling like you're just playing a part? That the smile you show everyone isn't 100% real? Well, today we're diving into a really powerful poem that's all about losing that authentic part of ourselves and the struggle to get it back. So let's get right into it.
Let me start by asking you something. Just think about it for a second. In this world of social media, polite hellos, and office meetings, how much of the emotion we show on the outside is actually genuine? And how much of it is just, a performance?
These are the opening lines of the poem, and they just perfectly capture that exact feeling. It's a father talking to his son, and he's looking back at a time when things felt, more real, more honest. That imagery is just incredible, isn't it? Ice block cold eyes. Wow.
To really feel the weight of what's been lost here, we first have to understand the world that this poem is so nostalgic for, a world where there was genuine human connection.
So the poem was written by Gabriel Okoroh. He was a Nigerian poet who lived through this period of huge social and cultural change in his country. And that context is so important, right? Because he's writing from the perspective of someone who's actually seen this massive shift in how people relate to each other.
At its heart, the poem is basically a confession. You've got this father who's the product of this new, kind of colder world, and he's looking at his son, who still has all this innocence, and he's just mourning everything he feels like he's lost along the way. And this brings us right to the central conflict of the poem, this really stark contrast between the past he so fondly remembers and the present that he has to live through every day. I mean, this just lays out the change so clearly. Every single genuine gesture from the past has been swapped out for something hollow, and honestly, even a little suspicious. A handshake isn't about connection anymore. It's this weird transaction where one hand distracts you while the other one is, quote, searching empty pockets. It's pretty cynical.
And this part just perfectly illustrates that superficiality. Like, the words of welcome are all there, sure, but the meaning behind them is totally gone. It's like a hospitality that has an expiration date, a warmth that just goes cold the second you actually take them up on the offer.
So, how in the world do you survive in a society like this? Well, according to the speaker in the poem, you learn to hide. You learn to wear masks. He talks about learning to wear many faces like dresses. Just stop and think about that metaphor for a second. It's like a total compartmentalization of who you are. There's a different face for every single social situation, which means his true self is probably never really present in any of them.
And this line, this one, is just so haunting. A fixed portrait smile. It's completely lifeless, just painted on. It never changes. That's the smile of someone who is conforming, not feeling anything at all. And that word, conform, is key. The source material actually defines it as acting the way everyone else does just so you're seen as normally acceptable. So the speaker isn't just wearing a mask. He's doing it to fit in, to survive all this social pressure to be fake.
And it gets even deeper. He's learned to basically corrupt his own language. Words don't mean what they're supposed to anymore. Goodbye becomes a mask for good riddance. Glad to meet you is just a shield for feeling nothing. It's a total disconnect between what he feels inside and what he shows on the outside.
But after all this learning, all this conforming, the speaker, he hits a breaking point. He's done learning how to be fake. He wants to do the opposite. He wants to unlearn.
And this, right here, is the absolute heart of the poem. It is a desperate cry for help. He calls them muting things, these faces, these fake smiles, because they've literally silenced his true self. And he looks at his son and sees a perfect reflection of the authenticity he wants back so badly.
You can just feel the self-disgust here. He has gotten so good at the fake laugh that when he actually sees himself doing it, it doesn't even look human to him anymore. It looks predatory, dangerous, like a snake's bare fangs. He literally doesn't recognize himself.
And so the poem ends with this beautiful, really heartbreaking plea. The father, who's supposed to be the teacher, becomes the student. He's asking his son, this symbol of innocence, to teach him how to be real again, to show him how to laugh from his heart.
So the poem leaves us right there, with this really powerful desire for inner truth. But what's supposed to happen next? I mean, what do we do once we finally decide to take off all the masks?
See, the really crucial lesson here is about this journey of unlearning. It's all about stripping away all those layers of fakeness that society kind of taught us we need to wear.
And that brings up a really fascinating question, doesn't it? If the first step is to unlearn all the phony stuff, then what's the second step? What do you do with that authentic self once you find it again?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. The very same source material that gives us this poem immediately follows it up with something called an oral activity. And it kind of suggests that finding your inner truth, well, that's not the end of the journey. The next step is learning how to use it, how to express it.
So, the challenge is to give a speech on a topic that actually matters, women's empowerment. See, this isn't about cocktail party chatter or fake pleasantries. This is about taking that real, authentic self, the one the father in the poem was so desperate to find, and learning how to project it with a purpose, to actually argue for something real and try to make a change in the world.
So when you put it all together, what we're really looking at is a two-part journey, right? There's the internal part, and then there's the external part.
And that brings us to our final thought. The poem shows us just how agonizingly hard it is to strip away all those conforming smiles and fake handshakes. But then the activity challenges us to get up and speak with purpose. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Which of those two steps do you think is the bigger challenge? Unlearning the masks or learning to speak your truth once you finally take them off?